In this lesson, we are going to learn how to leverage ChatGPT for course creation. So what I could do is I can go ahead and get started by asking ChatGPT that I'm interested in creating an online course and I have no idea what to do. Basically, I'm just starting out and I only have $1,000 budget for equipment or maybe for course hosting services. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT the following: let's create an online course. What do I need to do? Let's go ahead and test it out. If you press enter on your keyboard, here we go. Creating an online course can be a rewarding experience, both financially and personally. Here are some steps that you can take to create an online course with a budget of $1,000. First, you need to determine your course topic and target audience. You need to plan your course content. You need to choose a course platform. This could be Teachable, Udemy, Thinkific. You can also you need to step forward to create your course content. You need to record and edit your videos, and then you need to launch your course. Keep in mind that $1,000 may not cover all the expenses associated with creating an online course, but it's possible to create a high-quality course on a budget with careful planning and resourcefulness. Okay, that's a good start. Let's assume that I would like to design a new course on, let's say, Python programming. And I would like to get some help on creating a course outline. So if I say I'm designing a new course on Python programming, then you help me write a course outline. Here we go. Sure. Here's a simple course outline for beginner level Python programming. First, you need to start with an introduction to Python, overview of Python programming language, installing and setting up Python environment, writing and executing basic Python programs, introduction to Python data types and variables. Actually, if I wanted to write something like that, it's actually going to be very close to this. Next, you need to cover control structures and functions, covering loops, functions, recursion, and conditional statements, or if-and statements. And then you need to cover data structures in Python, such as lists, tuples, dictionaries, indexing and slicing. And then cover file handling, how to deal with files, object-oriented programming, web scraping, and data visualization, covering libraries, again, pretty powerful, is giving you as well examples. And also concluding the course with a project, basically implementing a real-world project using Python programming concepts learned throughout the course. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's assume that, for example, I'm interested in, let's say, lists, tuples, and dictionaries. And what I could do is I can go ahead and ask ChatGPT to basically give me a rough idea about a script. And I'm going to say, write a video script for lesson. And then maybe I'm going to grab this, for example, lists, tuples, and dictionaries. Here we go. I'm going to tell you one. Sure, here's a sample video script for the lesson on lists, tuples, and dictionaries. Welcome to this lesson on lists, tuples, and dictionaries. There are important data structures that you encounter frequently in Python programming. They can be used for a wide range of applications. Let's start with lists. A list is a collection of items which can be used basically to have multiple data types as integers, strings, and even lists. You can create a list in Python by enclosing a comma-separated sequence of values with square brackets. It's pretty incredible because this is actually right. It's not basically making stuff up. Now it's kind of adjusting its content to have some kind of creativity here. But when it comes to the actual definitions of these terminologies, they are actually pretty accurate. Working with lists, what are tuples, how to work with tuples, what are dictionaries, how to work with dictionaries, and then ended up with conclusion. Again, pretty incredible. And of course, you can use it kind of as a quick starting point to your course. Okay, what if, for example, if I'm interested in identifying what are the key learning outcomes or objectives for a given course? What about key learning objectives or outcomes for this course? And if you press enter on your keyboard, here we go. It's going to tell you, well, sure. Here are some key learning outcomes that students should achieve. First, you need to understand the difference between lists, tuples, and dictionaries. Be able to create and manipulate lists in Python, including in accessing individual elements or performing list slicing. Understand the immutability of tuples in Python. Be able to create and manipulate dictionaries in Python. Be able to choose the appropriate data structure in a given problem or task in Python. Please note that right now it's kind of giving you key learning outcomes for that specific lesson that we picked about lists, tuples, and dictionaries. Of course, you can go ahead and change that by asking for key learning objectives or outcomes for the entire course. So let's actually go ahead and test it out. So if I say, what about writing key learning outcomes for the entire course? Let's see if that works. Here we go. Sure. Here are the key learning objectives for the whole course. So I'm going to tell you one. First, you need to understand the fundamentals of programming, data structures, control structures, functions, and algorithms. Be able to write and execute basic Python programs using variables, loops, and conditional statements. You notice right now that it's not just talking about a specific lecture or lesson. Now it's talking about the entire course. Okay. Be able to work with various data structures in Python, like tuples and dictionaries, write files, we'll do web scraping and visualization, and be able to implement a real-world project using Python programming. Again, super powerful. Okay, what, for example, if you like to identify who will be your target audience for this course? So if I say, what about, let's say, the target audience? And if you press enter, here we go, it's going to tell you, well, sure, here's the description of the target audience for an introductory course on Python programming. Target audience could be, let's say, beginners who are interested in learning Python programming language. No prior programming experience is required, although familiarity with basic computer concepts such as files, directories, and data types is helpful. The course is suitable for anyone who wants to learn programming for personal or professional purposes, including students, professionals, technical, and non-technical fields. Okay. What, for example, if you are interested in learning or kind of writing the prerequisites for the course? You press enter, here we go, it's going to tell you, well, sure, here are the prerequisites for the course: basic computer skills, basic math skills, logical reasoning, English language proficiency, and no prior programming experience is required. All right. Sometimes if you have an online course, sometimes you'd like to engage your students. And you can do that by either including some quizzes, for example, or maybe by launching a poll. What I could do here is I can say, well, write a 10-question poll to engage my students who are taking my artificial intelligence masterclass. So if you go ahead and press enter on your keyboard, here we go. What you see right now is going to tell you, well, how confident are you in your ability to define artificial intelligence? Have you worked with any AI tools or frameworks before this class? How do you believe are the most significant benefits of using AI in the industry? How do you see AI affecting the job market in the coming areas or years? Do you believe that AI should be regulated? If so, to what extent? Again, pretty incredible questions. And these are not trivial questions. They're actually real, I work in this field, and these are actually real questions that I could ask possibly. Can you think of any current applications of AI that could benefit from further research and development? What are some of the most exciting advances in AI that you have seen recently, and how do you see them impacting the future? Again, super powerful. Okay, let's assume that at the end, for example, of a given, let's say, lesson, you decided to write a quiz to students to kind of assess their knowledge in AI and machine learning. And what I could do here is I can say the following. Could you please write 10 quiz questions about artificial intelligence and deep learning? Include 4 multiple choices with each question, and include the correct answers at the end as well. So here we go. What you see right now is I've been able to see many questions that are available right now. What is the main goal of artificial intelligence? And it's going to tell you the answer as well. What is deep learning? And you can see the answer here. What is the purpose of neural networks? Which of the following is a popular deep learning framework? What is backpropagation? What is an activation function? What is overfitting? What is transfer learning? And then what is a convolutional neural network, or CNN, along with the answer associated with it as well. Okay, let's assume that you'd like maybe to write a promotion email for the launch of a new course on artificial intelligence and deep learning. And the coupon code, let's say, I'm going to call it AI discount. And I'm going to also specify some features of the course. And of course, the more detailed you are, the better. So here I'm going to say the course is 10 hours with slides, code scripts, and Q&A support as an example. So if you go ahead and press enter on your keyboard, here we go. What you see right now is basically, it's going to tell you, well, hello, we are excited to announce the launch of our brand new course, AI and Deep Learning from Zero to Hero. In this course, we take you on a journey for the very basics of AI and deep learning. And you will find that basically here ChatGPT embedded the information that we included as part of the prompt. And it's going to tell you with over 10 hours of content, including detailed slides, code scripts, and Q&A support. This course is perfect for anyone looking to learn and enhance their skills in AI and deep learning. You can also see the discount here. And the best part, as a special launch offer, we are offering a 30% discount on the course fee for the first 100 students who enroll using the coupon code AI discount at checkout. And you will find that basically ChatGPT is kind of created some sort of urgency in the call to action as well, which is, again, pretty incredible. It's going to tell you as well what to expect from the course. You're going to showing you all the different topics. Don't miss the opportunity. Click here to learn more about the course and enroll today. Okay. And of course, you can also leverage ChatGPT if you like to maybe, if you have, let's say, a teacher assistant that can help, for example, draft some skeleton answer to your students' questions. And that's pretty much it. That's all I have for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. In this lesson, we will learn how to leverage ChatGPT for podcasters. If you recall, in the previous few lessons, we learned how to leverage ChatGPT if you are starting a YouTube channel, or if you'd like to, for example, post on Instagram or create reels or create, for example, YouTube shorts, or even if you'd like to explore TikTok as well. So what I would like to show you right now is I would like to show you different prompts that are going to help you if you plan to start a podcast. Or if you already have the podcast and you'd like to kind of take it to the next level, brainstorm ideas, come up with episode topics and names. Let me show you a few examples. Let's assume that you're starting out and you'd like to start a podcast on, let's say, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So if you press enter, actually need to restart it again. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Here we go. It's going very well. That's a great idea. Starting a podcast on AI and machine learning can be an excellent way to share your knowledge, insights, and opinions on this rapidly evolving field with a wider audience. And here are the few tips to get started. First, you need to define your niche. You need to plan your content. You need to invest in quality equipment. You need to promote your podcast. And you need to stay up to date as well with all the recent updates on AI and ML. Okay, what if I would like, for example, to give my podcast a name and I would like maybe to come up with new ideas? So I'm going to say, can you recommend 10 catchy names for the podcast? And here we go. Well, you see now there are many names actually that ChatGPT recommended. One of them is the AI mindset, machine learning mastery, data-driven discussions, the neural network, the AI revolution, the intelligence insider, the cognitive connection. Again, pretty cool names. And of course, you can go ahead all the time and just ask ChatGPT to give you more ideas. Give me 10 more, something like that. And here it goes. Very well, sure, of course. The intelligent edge, the learning loop, AI explorers, AI insights, AI advantage, and so on. Okay, what if I would like, for example, to buy a microphone, and let's say that budget, for example, is not an issue, and I live in the US as an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the following. What is the top microphone I should get for my podcast? Budget is not an issue, and let's say I live in the US. Well, if the budget is not an issue, there are several high-quality microphones that are popular among podcasters. These are the options. Here, they provide you with a bunch of options, okay? And these are actually quite expensive. And it's going to tell you here, actually, while it's more expensive than the other options on the list, it's a favorite among many podcasters and audio professionals, okay? That's also going to give you a conclusion. All three of these microphones are excellent options, but the best choice for you will depend on your personal preferences and acoustics of your recording space as well. And it's also worth investing in a high-quality audio interface to ensure the best possible sound quality. Okay, what if I decided to go, let's say, maybe pick one of those? For example, I decided to pick, let's say, the AI insights as an example. And let's assume that I decided to film my first episode. But I don't know which title I should choose, for example. So maybe I can go ahead and maybe brainstorm ideas with ChatGPT. So I'm going to say, choose titles for my first 10 episodes. Here we go. Sure. Here are 10 potential episodes for your AI and ML podcast. Introduction to AI and ML, the ethics of AI, NLP or natural language processing, reinforcement learning, the future of AI in healthcare, bias in machine learning. Again, really cool names, really cool titles in general. Understanding computer vision, how AI changing the retail industry. Okay. What if I decided maybe to grab that first episode, for example, or maybe let's say the second one, the ethics of AI, as an example. And I decided to come up with, let's say, the introduction for that specific episode. So if you listen to podcasts, in general, these podcasts starts with a quick introduction to that specific or a given episode. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to say, please write an introduction for the, let's say, second episode in 1 minute. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Well, sure, here's a 1 minute introduction for the second episode of your AI and ML podcast. Welcome back to our podcast on AI and machine learning. In this episode, we're going to explore the topics that's becoming increasingly important in recent years, the ethics of AI. And of course, ChatGPT is smart. It understood that we're talking about this topic here, or the second episode that basically it's recommended before in the previous prompt. And what I see here is going to tell you, well, this as AI and machine learning technologies become more advanced and pervasive, it's crucial that we consider the ethical implications of their use case as well. And again, pretty cool introduction. What I could do next is, what if I'd like maybe to write an episode outline for that specific topic? So I'm going to say, write an episode outline for this, let's say, topic. And here you go, sure. Here's an episode outline for the topic of AI ethics. And everyone, we need to start with a quick introduction. And this is the episode title, The Ethics of AI, what you need to know. Here's going to cover the importance of AI ethics, real-world examples of AI ethics issues, principles of AI ethics, the future of AI ethics, and then the conclusion at the end. Okay? What if I'd like, for example, to turn this outline into a podcast script? And let's say I decided to make it funny and kind of a little bit catchy as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, turn this outline that you just created here into a podcast script, make it funny and catchy. Here we go. And I tell you, well, you need to start with an intro music plays. So welcome back, AI machine learning enthusiasts. It's time to another episode for our podcast. And this time we're diving into a topic that is important and is exciting, the ethics of AI. But don't worry, we promise to make it as fun and catchy as possible. And then he's going to tell you to insert sound effect of a whip cracking. And then so buckle up, grab some popcorn, and get ready for some ethical dilemmas that will make your head spin. And then here you have some sound effect, for example, again, pretty cool script in general. And let's assume that you decided maybe to invite people or guests on your podcast. And you would like to get some suggestions from AI on, well, which experts on AI I should invite to my podcast. I'm going to say, well, I have a guest who's an expert on AI. Can you write 10 questions? And then in the next question, I'm actually going to ask ChatGPT to recommend who those experts are going to be. So here we go. Of course, here are 10 potential questions to ask your guests who are experts in AI. First, what first inspired you to pursue a career in AI? What are some of the most exciting developments in AI that you are currently following? Can you explain some of the most common misconceptions about AI? Again, really good questions overall. In your opinion, what role do you think AI will play in shaping the future of various industries, such as healthcare, finance, and transportation? And then, for example, you're finally looking ahead. Where do you see AI and machine learning headed in the next decade or so? And what implications do you think that will have on our society as a whole? And from my opinion, basically we're heading definitely to AGI, or artificial general intelligence. And it's kind of scary how AI right now is advancing. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to say, well, who should I invite for my podcast who's, let's say, an expert in AI? Let's go ahead and restart again the chat. This happens quite often, even though I upgraded to ChatGPT Plus. So I hope OpenAI will fix this issue soon. So I'm going to say, here we go. There are many experts you can invite. Of course, Andrew Ng, for example, is one of the top AI experts, and he's the founder of Coursera and Deep Learning AI. There's also few here, for example, here, Yoshua Benjiu as well. What, for example, maybe if you would like to add additional names, you can say, give me 5 more. I'm going to tell you, well, Sure, here are 5 additional names. If you find, for example, Ian Goodfellow, for example, is a prominent AI name. And it's also giving you a quick description as well of their biography. Okay, finally, what if I would like maybe to pick, let's say, a given name? For example, let's say I decided to invite, for example, let's say Andrew Ng here. And I decided, let's say, to send him an email inviting him to my podcast. So I'm going to copy that name here. And then I'm going to say, please write an email. So I'm going to say here, please write an email to, actually, instead of having to my first one, I'm going to say to Andrew Ng. Please write an email to Andrew Ng, inviting him to my podcast. That's actually good enough. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Here you go. Third, here's a possible email that you can send to Andrew Ng to invite him to your AI Machine Learning podcast. Dear Andrew, I hope this email finds you well. I'm reaching out to you today because I'm a huge fan of your work, and I believe that you would be a fantastic guest on our podcast about AI machine learning. And then you give in a quick overview of the podcast. Our podcast aims to provide insights and perspectives on the latest trends and development in the field of AI and machine learning. We cover a range of topics from technical discussions and machine learning. And then as a co-founder of Google Brain, a former professor at Stanford University, and an advocate for accessible AI education through projects like Coursera and Deep Learning AI, you have a wealth of knowledge and experience that would be incredibly valuable to our listeners. Again, if you get like a professional copywriter, I don't think he or she could come up with a kind of profound kind of outcome like this. Of course, you need to go ahead and edit, of course, this email, and you need to review it, of course. But this will be an excellent invite to guests for your podcast. And that's it. That's all I have for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next lesson.